Hello, Veronica Nabizadeh. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Hi, Elisha. I'm doing so well, and thank you for having me on your show.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. Firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Veronica, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Veronica, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Veronica, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Veronica, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree, you see. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Veronica. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day, and I was so excited. There is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Veronica that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insights, your work, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions, Veronica. These stuffs are beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Veronica is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to look selfish and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Veronica. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, Veronica.
Wow, Elisha, I love the mango tree reference. I love that it's prosperous and it's bright and it's present. And I really appreciate you reaching out to me. And you're right, I have learned so much in my own life. I heard this from someone, not myself. Your mess becomes your message, and I have a message to deliver. So happy to be on your show.
Awesome. And thank you for being here once again. So let's get right into it. You see, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Veronica, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, Veronica, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Veronica on the show is for the sake of the audience. See, Veronica, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So those folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Veronica, that our conversation is going to be impactful and insightful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or the professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Veronica got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Veronica, over to you.
Wonderful. So thank you, Elisha. I didn't start out to be a relationship expert. It was, my path was chosen for me when my 4-year-old daughter, at the time she was 4 years old, she begged me, Mommy, please make the arguing stop. And in that moment, I broke open and something wiser stepped out of me. And it was a choice not to. Well, it was two things. I saw that I was doing the very thing I promised that I would never do to my child, which is created a toxic, fearful environment in which to grow. And the second thing was I knew that I had to do something about it. I realized in that moment, I can't wait for my husband to change. Their responsibility was on me. And I call that radical responsibility. And so it was in that moment where that I was put on my path to relational healing. So I can tell you a little bit about me. I am an attorney turned marriage coach and divorce mediator, and I am the author of, here's my book cover, Don't Throw in the Towel Yet. If it's worth fighting about, it's worth fixing. And that is a book that I wrote out of my lived experience of how I turned my marriage around and who was standing at the crossroads of should I stay or should I go? And I wrote it because I know that as an attorney and a divorce mediator, I'm not the only one stalled and stuck in that agonizing dilemma. And so I wrote that book. And when my daughter asked me to stop stop the arguing, that's when stop, drop, and roll, my bespoke signature technique, was born. And I teach stop, drop, and roll baby to all of my battle weary wives and all of my battle weary couples so they too can put out the flames in their relationship, restore sanity and peace in the marriage and in the home. And that's my message. And I'm living proof that it can be done.
Awesome. Awesome, Veronica. So, I've got some questions for you. Are you ready for me?
Sure, I sure am.
Okay. So, let's begin first with this one that I'm so curious about. So, what moment made you realize that your marriage and your life had to change?
There was so many moments that I bypassed. And it wasn't until my daughter was begging me, tear-filled eyes, looking up at me, Mommy, you and Daddy argue every day. And just in that moment, it was a wake-up call. And that was the start of what I am now, marriage relationship restart. I knew if I could personally develop in my marriage, and if I could stop the escalation of conflict, and I could drop my need for my husband to any neediness, for him to understand me, for him to validate me, and I dropped out of the battle zone and I rolled into self-love and self-care. If I kept doing that and my marriage got better, then I stayed doing that. And the more I stopped, dropped, and rolled in my marriage got softer and the arguing stopped. Now, it wasn't easy. There were plenty of times I didn't stop, drop, and roll, but every time I didn't, I would have a good cry. I would remember my daughter's plea, and I'd pick myself up by my bootstraps and stop, drop, and roll again. And that returned peace in my home.
Wow, amazing. So, saying how experienced you are and all that you've been through and how you utilized wisdom. So, how has the journey been so far?
It hasn't been easy, but it's the most rewarding path that I am on. I like to analogize it back to what you said earlier about light and dark. I equate that to presence and lack of presence. When I'm present, I feel like I'm in the light. I'm handling life as it unfolds for me between me and my husband. And being in a relationship is a moment by moment decision, a choice to stay present. That presence means that I'm not carrying yesterday's conflict or yesterday's resentment or
Mm.
yesterday's, argument into the present. And so it was a choice to stay present.
It was a
And
choice to
yeah.
stay present. Okay, go on, please. Go on.
Yeah. So the more I stayed present, what I learned to do is, let's just say my husband's not the bad guy. We're married 26 years, married strong. So that's important to know because I did stand at that crossroads of should I stay, should I go for almost 2 decades. So now we're going on almost 26 years.
Amazing.
Yeah. And thank you. It really is. And I'll just say this one thing. I'm not a proponent of stay and suffer. That's not what I'm saying
Right,
here.
right.
I'm saying if you're not in danger, if if your kids are safe, if you are safe, do the work. If you could stop, drop, and roll, baby, and your marriage and your life gets better, then keep doing it because that radical responsibility of staying present and then tending to whatever comes up, in our inner world, those feelings, to take radical responsibility for those feelings and not foist them onto our partners for them to handle for us. That is radical responsibility. So back to your question, it wasn't easy, but it's the most rewarding thing I could ever do. And that's my message is if you can turn inwards and take full responsibility for what comes up for you, choose presence and negotiate and communicate from a place of centeredness, and your marriage gets better, then everyone is better because of it. And I did this
Mm.
for my child. I did not want her to be raised in you know, I didn't want her to be raised in a family that was divorced. It meant a lot to me. I understand some women have
Yeah.
no choice, and I respect that. But for me, it meant a lot. And so I was willing to do the work because that meant so much to me.
And I feel like a lot of people needs to hear your story. A lot of people needs to learn from how you did it. Because this is amazing. You said something so important there. For the sake of your children, you didn't want them to have such experience. And I tell you, Veronica, a lot of kids have become wayward because they don't have the attention either from the father or from the mother because now they're no longer together, and it's affecting and it's telling in their attitude, in their making of decisions and all. So I feel like what you're doing is so important. So there is this other one I'm curious about also. So how can, or let's say, what are the top signs that a woman is slowly abandoning herself in marriage?
I love that question, Elisa.
Thank you.
This is so important because they're subtle. It's the loss of sovereignty. And let me show you or
Hmm.
tell you what that looks like because it's not something that she's aware that she's doing, but it's over accommodating. It's over functioning. I am going to do more. So I don't, trying to prevent a reaction or a negative response for one's spouse. That is just diminishing her sovereignty, diminishing her presence. She's unknowingly exercising what I call or what I refer to as one of the relationship saboteurs, which is control, being controlling. And that means she's unknowingly attached to an outcome. And it shows up like over functioning, over accommodating. I don't like the word manipulation because it feels kind of evil or dark, but it is in the name of help and in the name of peace. I'm going to erase myself. I'm going to suppress my preferences, my needs so that I can keep the peace at the cost of my own peace and my own happiness and it's like erasing oneself. And it showed for me, and that's how it showed up for me. In other ways, it shows up as not speaking up, it shows up as being emotional rather than experiencing the emotions and allowing them to emote and express themselves out. She will use
Mm.
these relationship saboteurs, and she gets defensive, or she's controlling, or she's, practicing retaliation. And I'm talking about subtle things that she does. For example, her husband comes in and he makes a bid like, let's go to the movies, or how about you watch a movie with me? And she remembers the argument that they had yesterday. She goes, no, thank you. It's like just these little, I call them the 7 relationship saboteurs. And if she knows what they are, she will stop losing her presence and her centeredness, and she will come back home to herself and stop, drop, and roll and tend to those parts of her that need her love and attention.
You're just so
Does
good
that
at this
make sense?
stuff, Veronica. I tell you, this is I tell you, this is some amazing stuff. Okay. So what about this? Um, can you talk to us about your stop, drop, and roll baby technique, and how does it help women stop conflict fast?
Okay, so the brief history of Stop, Drop, and Roll is in the 1970s in the United States. It was a public service for our children because back then their mattresses, their curtains, their toys, their pajamas would go up in flames. And so the firemen would come to their elementary and teach them, hey, when you're on fire, stop what you're doing, drop to the floor, and then roll in a blanket or a carpet to extinguish the flames. Well, that works when couples are on fire too. So in the moment of conflict, we know how that feels inside. Outside, it's tense. There's not peaceful expressions on one face. The body is tight. Like we can see conflict, but we also can feel it. And that comes in a form of a whoosh. And that whoosh of anger, of resentment, of rage, of hatred, that is the moment where stopping, stopping talking. Because at that moment, when the whoosh inside happens, the presence, that light is lost.
Hmm.
So
It
it's
is lost.
the light is lost. And so it's that moment, stop talking. And I even tell my wives when I have a turnaround workshops for wives, when I teach them this method, you know, if they have to put a hand over their mouth, do it. Just don't contribute to the arguing. Don't escalate the conflict, and then drop out of the battle zone. Hey, honey, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And then use that time in your walk away moment to roll into self-love and self-care. And in that moment, she's with herself, regaining her presence, coming back into the light, breathing, putting her hand to her chest and feeling her heart and following her breath. 3 long inhales and exhales brings you back from the adaptive part of the brain into the wise adult where the presence is accessed. And she can be with herself in warm and loving regard as these emotions course through her body. So self-care could look like going for a walk, listening to her favorite music, journaling. Self-love is loving herself as she feels and experiences this emotions, and then coming back when she's centered. Does that make
Coming
sense?
back when yeah, a lot of sense. Coming back when she's centered. I got that.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring this to an end, Veronica, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or even ask you questions, or maybe they need your services. How can that be possible?
Okay, I would love for your listeners and your audience to go to my website, www.marriagerelationshiprestart.com/book. And please join my watch list. My book, which it's over there, is going to be launched on June 2nd. And your listeners can download a sneak peek and get on my watch list and have the opportunity to download it for free when my book comes out on June 2nd. Yeah, thank you. And I'm excited for this. And the thing I want for your listeners and for my own battle weary wives and couples is something can be done. And I like, Elisha, when you said light and dark, that when you practice presence, using your marriage or relationship as your spiritual practice to return back home to your light. I'm living proof that it can be done, and everybody in my family is better because of it. So stop, drop, and roll. The moment the darkness tries to take over, go back into the light of presence.
Amazing. Stop, drop, and roll. Go back into the light of presence the moment darkness try to cover. Amazing words, you see. These are profound, Veronica. I got that. So can you,
Thank you.
how to reach you? Can you say that once more?
Sure. So reach me at marriage relationship restart, all one word, .com/book. Then you can join my watch list. And or email me, Veronica at marriagerelationshiprestart.com. I would love for your listeners and audience to join my watch list.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Veronica. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
It was my pleasure, Elisha. Thank you so very much for having me.